Hi everybody, let's do IXL 8th grade J11 percent of change word problems. All right, I believe some of these are find the percent of change problems, and some of the others are what I call find the new value problem. So you have to read the problem and figure out which kind of a problem it is. So Clean Machine is Brookfield's premier house cleaning service. Last year, Clean Machine used 3,110 gallons of soap to clean its customers' homes. This year, the company used 1,866 gallons. What is the percent of decrease in the amount of soap per year? So I believe that, well, this is a find the percent of change problem. I know the original value, meaning the amount of soap that the company used last year, and I know the new value, which is the amount of soap the company used this year. I need to find the percent difference between them, so the percent of change. And I believe that you can give all of your answers as a positive number here. So even though the new value is smaller than the old value, so you could say that the percent of change is negative, we'll just make all our answers positive. So we'll just always, when we get a problem like this in this IXL exercise, just start with the bigger number and subtract the smaller number. So our step one is going to be to subtract these two values. Okay, so that's the difference in the gallons of soap, but that's not the percent of change. So step two is to take this difference and divide it by the original value, which was 3,110. Oops. Oh boy. So how do I go back? Oh, good. Okay, which is 0.4 or 40%. Okay, you don't have to write, even though it did go down, you don't have to write negative 40% because it already said what is the percent of decrease. So since you already have that word decrease there, it is implied that when you put 40% in here, it means negative 40%, but you don't have to actually write the negative. Carson just measured himself and found out he is 84 inches tall. The last time he measured, he was 70 inches tall. What percent taller is Carson now? So this is another find the percent of change problem. We know the original value, which was 70. That was the last time he measured himself. And then the new value, so he grew a little bit, and then he just measured himself again, and now his height is 84 inches. So the first thing that we'll ask ourselves for a percent of change problem is, what's the difference between these two values? So 84 minus 70, well, that's just 14. Okay, 84 minus 70 is 14. And then take this difference and divide it by the original value. So you have to read the problem to figure out what the original value is. It's not just the number that comes first in the problem. Even though in this problem, the number 84 came before the number 70, that's not how you do it. You have to actually read the problem. And the problem said that he just measured himself now and he was 84 inches. Before, he used to be 70 inches tall. So that's the original height. So we're going to take this 14 and divide it by 70, and that gives us 0.2 or 20%. All right, every year Karen and her sister attend the Nutcracker and the Westminster Ballet. Last year, orchestra seating cost $80 per ticket. This year, each ticket was 30% more expensive. What was the cost of each ticket this year? So you can see in this problem, it's already giving me the percent of change. I don't have to find the percent of change in this problem like I did for the last two. This is a find the new value problem. So I know that the original value was $80. I have to find the new value. So my step one here is to take that $80 and multiply it by 30%, which as a decimal is 0.3. Okay, so that's telling me that the price of the tickets is going to be $24 more this year because it said more expensive in the problem. So if it was $80 per ticket before, then this year it's going to be $100 $104 because my step 2 would be to do 80, which was the original value, and then add, since it said more expensive, not less expensive, the $24 that I got. Okay, if it had said less expensive, then I would have subtracted that $24 and I would have gotten $56 as my final answer. But it said add. Okay, so 104. So again, some of these problems are find the percent of change, and you would have to subtract and then divide by the original value. Some problems are find the new value. So you have to multiply. You have to write the percent as a decimal and then multiply. And then depending on the problem, you would add or subtract from the original value. Let's see what this problem is. Last year, well, I already see it's going to ask me for a percent. So I'll bet $1 million this is a find the percent of change problem. Last year, the Arlington Times had a total of 8,940 subscribers. This year, after the paper was bought out, it had 17,433 subscribers. So I can see that there's an increase here. What is the percent increase in the number of subscribers? So if I just wanted to know by how many subscribers more do they have now, then I would simply do 17,433 minus 8,940. Okay, so if this were like an elementary school problem, and it might ask you, okay, well, how many more subscribers do you have now, or do they have now? And this would be your answer. But this is a middle school problem now. We don't just want to know how many more subscribers there are. We want to know what the percent increase was. What was that percent of change? So we're going to take this difference between the two values and divide it by the original value. Okay, so let's see. This number was last year, and this number was this year. So this was the original number of subscribers. So we're going to take this and divide it by 8,940. Gives us 95%. Okay, 0.95, 95%. All right, so let's go ahead. This is a percent decrease, okay, but same idea. We're going to subtract and then divide by the original value. Let's go ahead and jump to the next level. All right, so this looks like the same kind of a problem. Another find the percent of change here. Okay, if it says percent over here, then it's asking you for percent of change. So your first step would be to subtract, and then your second step would be to divide by the original value. Is it going to ask me a different kind of a problem? No. So at least when you saw when I did this just now, most of these problems were find the percent of change problems. But every once in a while, you might get a find the new value problem. So it might already give you that percent of change, and then you have to multiply that as a decimal with the original value, and then depending on the problem, you take your result and add or subtract from the original value. I'm going to jump ahead again because it's giving me all the same types of problems. Okay, so this one is maybe just a tiny bit different because it's asking me to round at the end. In the past, Oscar got paid $49,540 annually. Annually meaning every year. Since switching to a new career, he has been making 68.5% more. Ooh, good job, Oscar. How much does Oscar make now? Okay, so here it's giving us the percent of change. So this is not what I call a find the percent of change problem. Here I have to find the new value. I know what Oscar used to make every year. I have to find his new yearly salary, his new annual salary. So what I'm going to do is we're going to take this number, 49,540, we're going to multiply it by this number written as a decimal. So all we have to do, even though there's a decimal point in here already, that doesn't mean it's written as a decimal. Right now it's in percent form because there's a percent symbol here. So I'm going to take this and move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. So I would get 0.685, and that's decimal form. So I'm going to multiply this by 0.685. Okay, so this number here represents how much more money Oscar is making every year. That's not his new salary. If that were his new salary, then he would actually be making less than what he made earlier. But he's making more money. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this number and we're going to add it to what he used to be making, and that is his new annual salary, $83,474. 83,474. That's what it said, right? 83,474.9. And I believe you, if it's asking you for a dollar value, then you're going to want to go ahead and put a 0 at the end just to get it all the way up to the hundredths place, because that's how we write dollar values, is the cents go all the way up to the hundredths place, right? 2 places after the decimal point. Okay. All right, let's just do this one to practice rounding. So this is another find the percent of change problem. This is the last problem that we'll do here. A particular truck in a transportation fleet was driven 149,650 miles last year versus 333,841 miles this year. So this is my original value since it was last year. This is my new value since it was this year. Okay, by what percent did the annual distance driven increase? So let's subtract these. And divide by the original value, the amount driven last year. Okay, and we get that. So here's what we're going to want to do here. This can be a little bit tricky. So first, to turn a decimal into a percent, I always have a little trick. If I want to turn a decimal into a let me write it out here. If I want to turn a decimal into a percent, then I move the decimal point to the right. If I want to turn a percent into a decimal, then I move the decimal point to the left. So here, when you divide the numbers, then you're going to get an answer which is in decimal form. You're going to want to take that decimal and turn it into a percent by moving the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, 1, 2. So in percent form, we would get 123.081189, etc. Okay, and so forth, percent. So this is in percent form. Here's where it's tricky, because a lot of students would get this number and they would say, okay, I need to round to the nearest tenth. So they would say to themselves, okay, so here's the tenths place, right? So this 2 is in the tenths place, and then this is a 3, so the 2 would stay the same. So my final answer would be 1.2, right? Or maybe they would say 1.2, which is in decimal form, and then move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, and say they would turn that into 120% in percent form. But you can't round before you move the decimal. You have to move the decimal first and then round. Okay, so this answer over here would be incorrect. You can see here I moved the decimal first to get it over here. And now using this, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so here's the tenths place, one position after the decimal point. That's the tenths place. So that's my what I call my rounding digit. This is what I call the decision digit. If the decision digit is a 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then the rounding digit stays the same. If the decision digit is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, then the rounding digit gets bumped up 1. So I'm going to, since this is an 8, I will bump the 0 up 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So my final answer is going to be, rounded to the nearest tenth of a percent, I get 123.1%. Okay. All right. Okay, so this one here, it already gave us the percent of change. That would be a find the new value problem. So your first step would be to multiply. And then, let's see, this year the hotel served 25% more orange juice. So then my next step would be to add. If it had said less orange juice, my next step would be to subtract. But anyway, I think I've done already a couple of find the new value problems, so I'm going to end the video there. I hope that was helpful, and have a great day.